Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your presence today. We have all gathered here today for an introductory webinar on Intuit Circle Codeathon. Intuit Circle's Codeathon is a virtual coding challenge for SaaS startups and developers to build on a robust technology platform and use it as a springboard to achieve scale while helping small businesses prosper. This is a great opportunity for you to equip yourself with the right tools to build on a trusted open source platform and get access to a dedicated team of Intuit and industry experts who can help you scale fast. So without any delay, I would like to start the first session of the day, which is Design for Delight. In this session, you'll learn about how to uncover your customer's need, identifying customers' pain areas, rapid prototyping techniques, how to help your startup innovate, and test multiple ideas before writing even a single line of code. I would like to invite Mr. Muthuraj Thangavel. He is a product manager at QuickBooks Intuit. Mr. Thangavel is a product manager who loves building and scaling global products with customer obsession. Over to you, Mr. Thangavel.
Thank you, Anamika. You can hear me, right?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Let me share my screen as well. Can you see my screen, Anamika?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's get started. Yeah, so we are going to discuss about design for delight. Welcome everyone. So design for delight is what we often call as the secret sauce behind Intuit's products, right? So the way and the approach and the culture of how we go ahead and what are the things that we follow as we go ahead to build a problem. When we think about going on to looking at a customer, what are the things that we do and how do we go about actually delivering the value to the customers, right? So those are some of the things that we will be covering at the overview, and this is going to be very helpful for you guys as well, as you are going through your cycle of actually building the building your ideas for the QuickBooks platform, right? So these are some of the things that some of the principles that you could incorporate for building a better business, better app structure, for example, right? That's briefly about me. Myself, Muthu. I'm leading the customer retention and self-service experience for QuickBooks at Intuit, right? So previously spent a decade or so with SAP. I had for the last several years I've been coaching and practicing design thinking. I hold a US patent as well, and
Muthu, sorry to interrupt. We can't see your screen.
you can or you cannot.
Yes, now we can see your screen.
I didn't made any change. So can you confirm which slide are you
Yes,
seeing?
we can see. This is your introduction, I guess.
Yes. Okay, cool. Okay, thank you. Is there a lag, Namika, in the screen versus voice, or?
No, it's going well. You can start.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, that's briefly about me. Let's get into the session itself, right? So, if you actually look at, this chart may not be, new for you. This is a known fact in the market, happening for several years, right? So, the number one reason why most of the startups fail, why entrepreneurs are failing, is no market need. It essentially means that you are building something that is not actually solving the right problem, or not solving in the right way, or not with the right experience, such that the product market fit is not achieved. Hence there is no market need for the product, and hence you are not able to scale your business, and hence the business is not moving further, right? So that's the number one reason. If you look further, like for example, if you look at some of the app strategies and the statistics behind, right? 90%, more than 90% of mobile apps are just abandoned after a single use, right? And then if you look at the DAU, for example, which is a very important metric for mobile apps these days, within just 3 days, 77% of DAU is gone from the time you actually installed on your phone, and within the next 3 days, it's going to be the deciding factor, and then you lose the space with the in the customer's device, right? So then why was this app actually built in the first place? If no one is actually wanting it, if they are not using it, then why was it actually built in the first place? Because this is actually a fully built, fully functional application, and put in the app store, and then the customers are starting to use it, and that's when they are actually realizing, and the developer and the entrepreneur is actually realizing much later in this process that I built something that the users are not wanting. Why did this happen much later in the process, right? So are you solving this real problem, and are you providing this right solution, right? So unfortunately most of the times the entrepreneurs go wrong here. You often actually start to build a full blown product with lots of features. Probably it's an idea. It starts from an idea. You had a thought, what if there was something to do this, and then you started doing it. But the real underlying problem, if there is no real pressing problem or an opportunity behind the scenes, then the idea won't fly. Right, so that is something is what we are going to see. How you can mitigate, and how you can actually build an application that can best serve this purpose, right? So this is what I called as the Intuit secret sauce. What we always go for is the customer driven innovation. This is how we choose problem, by following the desirability, feasibility, and viability, right? So and if you see actually in the order, the desirability comes the first, which is an unsolved important customer problem which is pressing for the customer. And then something, and at the same time that problem provides you that opportunity to build a competitive durable advantage, such that it gives you a business opportunity, or such that it places you ahead of the competition, right? And then if that is something that can be solved well, right? So then the feasibility part of it, right? So that's how we go ahead and choose the problems. Then once there is this problem in the picture, how about you have a theme, you have an area identified. Now you go on to go there and solve for it, right? So how do you apply design for delight there? So that is an adaptation of the design thinking framework, deeply rooted with the customer in the middle, having a deep customer empathy. And how can you have an iterative process around going broad to narrow, right? Collecting as many problems as possible, and then zeroing down to the core problems that you want to solve, and collecting as many ideas as possible, brainstorming as many ideas as possible before zeroing down onto one thing, or the core ideas that you want to build upon, and then going ahead to actually experimenting it with customers to understand whether it is actually solving the problem or not. right? So that's the direction that we go in. So starting so we will actually be going in deeper into this one area, which is the design for delight, right? So the three rings that you see here, the deep customer empathy, go broad to go narrow, and rapid experiments with customers, is what we will be seeing for today. More specifically, the rapid experiments area is something we will concentrate more, because some of you have already chosen your idea and you are in the build stage. We can see, for example, even before you put in a lot of time to build it, is there some things that you can quickly verify before you actually build it out, right? So that your validation happens faster, you are able to fail early and often, such that you can build a successful product, right? So that is something we can look at, for example, right? We'll be seeing one of the each one of these. So starting with the deep customer empathy, right? So when we say a customer empathy, it requires for you to really understand who the users are, where are they, what are they doing, what is the context in which they do something, right? So if you look at, for example, if you are if you take things out of the context, if you only take, okay, they are doing so and so, they are filing tax at this particular point, they are this is how the let's say the process is happening, then the challenge is, if you take this out of context, if you take something that is happening outside of their work environment, who are the folks that are involved in this process, while taking the decision, what are some of the things that they are doing at that moment, right? If you do not have those contexts, you will not be able to arrive at the right problem. If you don't arrive at the right problem, your solution will completely go wrong. So it is very, very important to be grounded with the customer. What is the exact goal that they are trying to achieve? In trying to achieve their goal, what are some of the pains that they are going through, and what are some of the gains that can accelerate them to reach that goal faster, right? So that is very important for you to arrive at the right problem statement for your customer. Now, with the pandemic situation, this has actually put all of us in a very difficult situation. You can't really go and spend time with the customer. So the whole thing of how do you do visual empathy, there are several articles for it you can go look for as well, right? We can try and we are mitigating in few ways, like for example, having video calls with our customers, asking them to share their screen when they are using the product, and then we observe how they are trying to do a certain thing, so that we can learn how that workflow is going from customers perspective, right? While it is not, let's say, the 100% or a best replacement for meeting them in person, we are trying to mitigate that with also as well with the virtual empathy building process. But this identification of this customer, the persona, and understanding the real problem is the very first thing that you should have all done by now when you have submitted your ideas. That's an essential process that you have to do, right? Now, as soon as you go and speak to your customers, and then when you are collecting your thoughts, and then you have found the problems that they are facing, and hence some of the important problems that is coming up, what is the right way to capture the problem such that you can go and start to act upon, right? This is one of the format, and this format can readily help you if you want to let's say click a screenshot of this at this point in time. You can do so. This format can help you capture the problem statement at the right level, right? So if you look at this problem statement, the very first thing that it is starting with is actually the persona, the characteristics, the person, the user, the real person behind who has this problem, right? So if you are not able to pinpoint it to someone very specific with their attributes, then you are actually not solving a problem for anyone. You should be able to arrive at your persona. That is the number one thing, right? And as soon as you arrive at your persona, then what is the task that your user is trying to do, but while trying to do some, what are some of the barriers that he is facing, and then the root cause of why that barrier has happened in first place, right? So what is he trying to do, while trying to do some, what is the barrier, and that barrier has happened because of what root cause, right? In this process, what is the emotion that the customer is going through? Because if you don't link emotions to your problem, you don't really know, and then you'll not be able to, your user experience, for example, will not be able to cover the right level of connection with your customers when you are delivering the solution, for example, right? So that is we started with this three rings, right? And we started going deeper onto the customer empathy, and customer empathy, stage has the right level of information when you are able to have your problem statements in such format, which can give you all the required details, right? And that's when you will be able to, for example, move forward into the next one, right? Which is a go broad to go narrow state, right? So just before I go into the next one, are there any questions in the call? Anyone that you want to take up? So will the question can the questions be live shared, or will it be via chat, Anamika? Can you hear me? Okay, I see they'll be via chat. Requesting participants to go on chat to provide your, questions, for example. If no questions at this point, then I'll continue into the next phase.
Muthuraj, we can continue and do the AMA at the end.
Sure. Okay, so we go on to the next phase, the go broad to go narrow, right? So this is all about, you have collected, you have interacted with your customers, you have accumulated the problem state, the problem statement and the data points, right? Now, using that, how can you actually go broad, which is looking at all possible solutions before zeroing down to say, hey, I want to build an application to scan receipt and put it on capture the data and send it to the PC, right? So before even going down to one to that level of detail, that I want to do this specifically for this set of customers, for this set of users, I want to do this feature which can help them to do achieve this, right? You will have to first go broad. You are taking a problem statement, go as broad as possible to collect all the possibilities that you could do, such that the problem that you have seen can actually be can be solved, such that the customer is able to move closer to their goal that they wanted to achieve. If you recall your problem statement, you had your customer with their attributes and the goal that they wanted to achieve, right? So how can you help them to get to that goal faster, right? So all those ideas that you could collect, and then once you have those ideas collected, the step two is basically to for you to go uncomfortably narrow. Select that one thing, right? So don't try to solve everything for everyone. Don't be that Yahoo search page which had all possible hyperlinks on one page, right? But think about how Google cracked it, for example, one problem, one unique problem, one unique value at one place, right? So we often advocate for, the three Ps, which is basically, one problem, one persona, one problem, one promise, right? So go that narrow, right? And pick that one specific solution that could solve a real or a high value problem for the persona that you have identified. So that will be your go broad to go narrow phase, right? Now coming to, you have identified your solutions, right? So there is a you know your customer, you spent enough time with them, you understood what are their problems, and then you went broad to collect all the solutions, and then went narrow to rank those solutions, to understand what are some of those, what are some of the critical ones, or the most high value solution that is addressing a high value problem, and hence you want to go with that set of solutions, right? So now when you have solutions, often the question is, so should you be now just going ahead to build the solution, right? So because most of the tech platform is free. There I have Java, I have an Android library, I have a platform access, so I have an idea. Why don't I just go and start write a code, or start to build on it, right? If you try to do so, most probably it may not fail, it may not fly with your customers, because you just had an idea. Whether is this the right idea, is this the one that is going to solve the high value problem for your customers? If that is not validated, and if you are already going to try and see if you are going, if you can build something, then you are actually not doing the right thing, right? So so that is where you will have to pause and reflect upon whether your ideas have assumptions, and how can that assumptions be validated without even building that as a feature into the app that you are thinking, right? Such that you are actually safe when you are actually building it for your customers, right? So now let's look at what are assumptions, how can you classify them, how can you identify them, and then such that you can build a product which has the perfect product market fit, right? So let's look at the primary thing. Any solution that you talk about, every solution, if you have an idea, that idea will always have underlying assumptions. You are taking certain considerations. You are thinking that the customer has access to internet, has access to this specific platform. He can do X, hence because of that he can also do Y. There will be several assumptions when you any idea. If you when you think about an idea, it will just sound great, but if you look at that idea, each idea inherently will have assumptions, right? So it is important for you to go reflect upon those assumptions, and think about, okay, I have this idea. Now what are these assumptions that I have behind the scenes for this idea to succeed, right? List them all down, and out of these assumptions, you can see some of them are validated because another company, another product, another area, another market has already proven that this is working. Some of this is a proven assumption, and some of this is not proven. If this is important for your idea, and if it is a not proven assumption, that is what we call as a leap of faith assumption. Because if those assumptions fail, your idea fails, right? So as I mentioned, first pause immediately after you have your set of ideas, right? Think what are the assumptions that this idea, the platform that you are trying to build, the app that you are trying to build, what are some of the assumptions that you have in mind, and classify the leap of faith assumptions, right, that has to be true for the success of your idea, and validate them before even going forward to build your solution, right? So that is what we are going to see now. For example, how can we get at these assumptions? By taking the Airbnb example, for that matter, right? So for example, here if you look at these are some of the assumptions for Airbnb model to be successful, right? The people should be able to book accommodations that they are unfamiliar with. Is that a lofa or not? You will have to tell, right? So you will have to identify, right? So now people will rent an airbed at a stranger's home. is that a leap of faith assumption or not, right? So these are all, first you are listing all your assumptions for my model to be successful, that if I want to connect those who are looking to share accommodation, and those who are looking to get accommodation at a lower price but also get the local experience, if I want to connect them, then what are the assumptions that I have in building such a platform? I'm assuming that the people can book accommodations which they are unfamiliar with. I'm assuming they can book with a stranger. I'm assuming it is legal. I'm assuming people can book via website or an app, right? So a lot of these assumptions are there. Some of these validated, some of these not validated at the point in time when Airbnb was launching, right? So going back in time, when if Airbnb was about to launch, and if these are the assumptions for their model to go launched, right? Can you identify, for example, what are the leap of faith assumptions for Airbnb from this list, right? So what I'm looking for is just put the numbers. You can put it in the chat. If you feel, for example, booking accommodation that they are unfamiliar with is a loafer, put number one. There can be multiple loafers in this list also. If you find more than one, like for example, say 1, 2, and 3, right? So put the numbers in your chat. Let's see, if we are able to apply and find the loafers. I'm giving a couple of seconds here to see if we have folks coming in. So repeating the question again, these are all the assumptions for Airbnb model to be successful. At that point in time, when Airbnb is about to launch, what are some of the leap of faith assumptions? Without, if not validated, the whole concept of Airbnb will not fail, will fail, right? So identify them and put the numbers in the chat. Okay, I see 127 as first option, and I see 3124. Okay, both of you have said number one is an assumption, but think about at that point in time, booking an accommodation that you are unfamiliar with, is it actually a leap of faith assumption? Think slightly more towards it. I see one more 137, that is also including one. Think more about one, for example. Okay, I see 2 and 7 from Abik. Okay, cool. Let's get going, and let's see the answers itself. So 2 and 7, that is the right answer, right? So this gets a lot of let's say the nitty-gritties to classify whether something is a loafer or not, right? So because what happens is you will have to look at that point in time in that geography whether something for Airbnb to launch, whether some of these assumptions were already true or not. If you look at the unfamiliarity, for example, even the hotel room is unfamiliar to you. You are going to a new location and you are trying to book an accommodation there, right? But an important element which is not tested by anyone is going to a stranger's home, right? A institution, a hotel is different, a restaurant is different, right? Versus if you look at a stranger's home and having bed and breakfast with a stranger in his location is something a completely a leap of faith assumption. If that is not flying, your idea will not fly at all, right? So that is the let's say the number one thing that you will have to go behind. How can you do some experiments to prove that, so that you can safely build your product based on that, right? If without validating such assumption, if you had gone ahead to build your complete set of features, imagine you built a website, you built a mobile app, which has right from security to login to registration to uploading photos, ability to like, ability to rate, so many things. But you have not validated this basic assumption. What would have happened? That app would also shared the same fate as we saw at the beginning, that within 3 days, users that throw away your application and no one is actually using your application, right? Um, yeah. So here is another sort of an framework that you could use, a 2x2 that you could use. If you want, you can also click a screenshot here, right? So this is also a very important one. What we call as how you can identify a leap of faith success by doing a simple 2x2, right? So something that the cruciality for success in one axis and whether it is already proven or not in another axis. And if you look at the top right corner, it is crucial for your success. And if it is not proven in the market, then these are the ideas that you have to first validate via experiments before even doing a costly decision in terms of investment. That could be money, that could be time, that could be resources. Before going for it, you will have to validate those at the cheapest and the fastest way possible, so that you can confidently go ahead and build, right? So that is very, very important at this stage. Okay, so now we are going to go into the next phase. So what has just happened is we talked about the customers. How can you build empathy? And we talked about the idea stage where first you will have to collect a lot of ideas and then go down to prioritizing some of these ideas. And then we talked about each idea comes with an assumption. Recognize that and identify the leap of faith assumptions. Now you have identified your leap of faith assumption, the ones that are crucial for your success and that is not proven in the market. Now, how can you validate it? How can you do some rapid experiments such that you can validate it, and hence you will be able to confidently go ahead and build the application that you want to build, right? So that's what we are going to see. Right now, there are several ways of how you can do a rapid experiment. This is some of the types over here, right? There are several other ways that you could do as well. And if you actually look at the one of the ground rule that we follow is, if you cannot actually design and launch an experiment within 2 days, then you are probably spending more time than it is required, right? Your experiment has to have the least time possible and the least amount of money that it is spent, so that you can validate your assumptions faster and then you are able to go further, right? So that is very, very important at this stage, right? Some of these ways of testing, like for example, a first cycle, a sketch test is like, when you have a UX, when your leap of faith is, this is already there in the market, but you are simplifying dramatically, let's say simplifying the user experience of how this information is presented to the customer, such that he is able to do something in just one click or something like that, right? Now, you can just quickly prototype it, wireframe it, and get it to customers to see how they are acting upon it. Right, and then there is this FACO test, which is the not the complete one is built. Part or all of the experience is currently fake, but then you are still able to show the process of how this would come together and work, for example, right? And concierge test is something that a lot of startups uses, right? And from the first day, if you want to launch something, for example, if you are going to build an application, imagine doing a landing page without even, you don't even have this application built, but you just have a screenshot having some description about, we are trying to crack whatever, this is the value proposition that you are having for your customers. And then the button will say, join now, or come join us, or start with us, or order, or something like that, a CTA in this landing page, right? But that most often, when you click on it, it will just say, hey, we are not yet ready, we are glad that you are interested, we would like to put you on a mailing list so that we can inform you when we are ready, right? So that is something that you could do as your landing page, like a fake test even before you have actually built your product, right? Versus in the concierge, when you extend the same fake test into a concierge mode, imagine you have put a product, and your value proposition is to deliver it at ease to the customer, right? And then the customer is actually going ahead and placing the order, but you don't have a logistics team, you don't have anything built such that you can efficiently move the goods from one place to another and take it to customer. What you are doing, you are actually going, purchasing the product that the customer has ordered, and you go and deliver it to your customer, right? The experience, a part of the experience is actually completely manual, where you are trying to do that for your customer in a concierge sort of mode. That is the other one, right? And the technical test comes into picture, the whole POC concept comes into picture only when there is some sort of a algorithm. Um, if you are trying to prove something, that if whether it will work or not, right? If there is an algorithm, for example, and without that algorithm your idea may not fly at all, that's when we recommend having a technical test. Most of the time, things are typically possible within the technology, unless you are working with some, let's say, some older technologies where you have to find some feasibility even before making some assumptions. If you're not constrained on the technology stack, then you need not do a technical test, right? Unless you will have to prove something whether it is actually working or not. That's your technical test, for example. And then going on to the fully built AB versions in productions, where you can actually have the same value delivered via two different ways, two different experiences, keeping the button different, keeping the message that you are conveying different. The call to action buttons says a different thing. For example, a buy now versus upgrade now, or sign up versus join. Right. So these kind of content testing, these kind of experience testing, whether the user is interested in something or not. A/B test, a fully built A/B test in production is something of great use. Even the famous names, like for example, Facebook is known for doing a lot of live A/B testing. Uber is known for doing a lot of live A/B testing. An experience that the user A sees, the user who is falling in the bucket B will not see. Even in their production system, they are able to do these sort of tests to understand, whether they should be going on to build a feature further or not, right? So that's another area, right? Now, how all of these comes together, right? So basically, you had this idea, and you're validating the idea with an experiment. Now, from this experiment, how will it actually become a product, right? So that is by the incremental nature. The whole process is iterative. So you have taken an idea one, or the assumption one, you validated that with an experiment. That experiment may or may not have even provided any value. This is only to prove whether this assumption is true or not, right? And then if that is working fine, and if your metric is successful there, then you will go on to building the next incremental layer on top of it, right? If that is also working fine, then you will go on to build the one more layer on top of it, the next version to it, the next version to it. So eventually what is happening is, you have validated something, and if, as long as that is proven, you will start to build on top of it. You will add some values such that your experiment will now turn into a MVP, a minimum viable product, right? I experiment need not have any value. Its primary goal is to validate whether an assumption is true or not, right? And once you find that, and once you start to incrementally build on top of it, you will start to add value, a feature, something working, that the customer can get out of it, such that now your MVP comes into picture, that you are incrementally building the product in versions, such that the final product goes to customer, right? So that's how the build process goes with the product, right? Now, what qualifies a well designed experiment, right? An experiment should validate at least one or more leap of faith assumptions. It should have the clearly defined hypothesis, and you should any experiment without a metric then you are not you are not set for success. If you do not know what you want to measure when you are launching an experiment, then you are just launching out of nowhere, right? So you are not having the learning from there. So you will need to associate the metrics, the quantitative metrics and the qualitative metrics when you are launching your experiment. And at the later stages when you are launching your MVP, it is true for both experiment and MVP that you need to have the right metrics in place. Typically, the two sets of metrics will be your business metrics and your usage metrics. The business metrics is anything about your revenue, your retention, your number of units sold, for example, right? On the other hand side, the usage metric will talk about the number of clicks, the number of folks who went through the certain flow, flow A versus flow B, all those usage parameters will be your second set of metrics. Then we also have your daily user, daily active user, monthly active user that you can track at the user level as well, right? But then what is very, very important is you are from the idea, you found the assumptions, translated that into experiment, and then eventually it is iteratively it is becoming an MVP, right? Now at the early stages, when you are still at the experiment stage, you have to make sure that it is clearly time boxed and money boxed, such that you are doing it quickly and cheaply, right? And that quickly and cheaply will start to increase. Like for example, the time will slightly start to increase and the money investment will also start to increase with every version. So your experiment 1 to an experiment 2 that is built on top of it, the time and money will slightly increase, and then you come into an MVP, the time and money will further increase, and then you'll go into the actual product itself, right? So that's how you'll be going ahead to build the product. Right. With that, I would like to, keep really the session to core of its content and take to the key takeaway for you guys, and opening up for questions so that we can actually discuss when you are building, what are some of the challenges that you are facing, and let's see how I can, help clarify some of those concepts for you. You can also connect, the materials will be there, and the our handles are also shared with you guys, so we are always happy to help you, right? So some of these key takeaways what we saw from this session, right? uh, the middle, the number one thing, start with your customer, have deep customer empathy, deep rooted with your customer problems, be your customer's advocate, right? So that is your primary premise. And if you do that, then when you are actually doing your idea, realize that any idea that you are building has assumptions. If you are already starting to build, pause for a second and think about what are some of the assumptions that you have in building your idea, right? And validate specifically the leap of faith assumptions, right? And when you try to validate those assumptions, make sure that those are time boxed and money boxed, right? The time and money is not an unlimited resource. You have to make sure that you are able to do these experiments quickly and cheaply, right? And finally, anything that you're building, do not think about adding that 20-25 features in your first release itself. Build incrementally, think in versions, right? So that you can build the adoption over a period of time, and you are able to know whether you are going in the right direction, and you will be able to adopt very quickly, and if required you will be able to even pivot, right? It is not only the speed that matters, it also matters whether you are going in the right direction with that speed, right? Whether you are building the right product with that speed. If you are not building the right product with that speed, imagine a rocket, a massive rocket going out of control, right? So that's the impact that you would be having, right? That's all that I had for today's session. I encourage you guys to go do amazing things. You will be learning about the platform as well in the next session. Make use of it. Build super cool things, right? So yeah, so that's at the end of the session. Thanks a lot, everyone. I will now move on to the chat. I will be monitoring the chat for the questions. Thank you, everyone.
Uh, um, if it is okay, I'll read out the questions for you. Thank you. By the way, thank you very much. It was quite an insightful interaction that you had. Thank you. So there is a question from Pratik. He asked that how do you encourage customers to engage for feedback?
How do you engage customers for getting feedback, right?
Yeah. How do you encourage them?
How do you encourage customers to get feedback?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. See, basically, see what happens is you are interacting with customers in, let's say, the two places, and based on which stage this will also differ, right? So basically, one is your, if you classify your overall product building phase, you have your problem space and your solution space. In your problem space, you are trying to understand from your customer, for example, what are his pain points, what are his learnings, and where is that he is struggling, etc. And that typically is slightly a tougher phase for you to engage with customers, because what happens is, if you are specifically a startup, for example, if you do not have the products already built, and you don't have a, let's say, a brand to carry, for example, then for them, why should I be sharing my pains with you, right? So what is the need for me to spend the time with you? Those kind of things often comes in that area. So that's where what happens is, for typically for startups, or when you are starting as an individual, in the problem space, when you want to interact with customers, we often start with friends and families. And when you have some of the themes identified, then you are able to go to even to potential customers and talk to them. Because when you talk about a specific theme which they really have a pain, then that strikes a chord for them. Yeah, I often had a pain over there. Oh, you're thinking about it, let's discuss about it, sort of stuff, right? So that is on your problem side. And when you are looking at your solution side, and if and when you want to engage with your customers to get feedback for your solutions, right? So that is basically, if you have, depending on the level of where your solution is, like for example, if it is at the experiment level, right? Then again, still you will have to start with your known circle, or someone who can introduce you to that person, such that you can take it to them and then start from there. But at the mature stages, when you actually have an app, right? So there are a lot of, like for example, you are building something for a doctor, right? And you already have an app, you're at the advanced stage now, right? Now what happens is, there are folks who are early adopters. It takes slightly more time to identify them. By one contact to the other contact, you can eventually identify them. But then every category of customer segments that you are talking about has some early adopters. You have to find them. As soon as you find them, and if you are saying that, hey, I have something you want to try out, there are many people who are happy to engage with it. So that is one way. And there are also now websites, and community, where these early adopters have signed up, and they are ready and willing to test. There are many LinkedIn communities as well, where the folks are willing to do beta test for you. That's another avenue available as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's another question which says, how many times what customers state as a problem statement is actually not what they are looking for. So as a company, how can we gather all the requirements from the customer?
Right. Yeah, that's a very, very important one, right? So you can never ask your customer for, what are your problems, right? So because if customers can identify their problem themselves, they would have solved it themselves, right? So you are in the space, you are trying to build a product for your customers. Your customer is not trying to solve the problem for himself, right? So you cannot ask them, what are some of your problems, for example, right? That is why I was saying it is important to spend that quality time with customers. It is important to go meet where they are, or share the screens with them, or have a video call, or give them a workflow and see how they are able to do that workflow, right? So you are essentially observing and trying to do it by the same process by yourself, for example. Either you go and observe, or try and do it by yourself, or speak to pseudo experts in that area, the experts who can fill in for those customers for that area, for example. Right. So you will have to do these variety of methods to identify the problem. You can never no one can tell that a prospective customer cannot tell, hey, this is my problem, I need a product for it, right? So if even if they are telling that, most probably it will be a need, it will be a want. More than a need, it will be a want. And if you are trying to go by that, you will not be able to scale. So you have to go to the real problem, by observing them, by speaking to many customers, and then solve the real problem.
Right. Okay, so somebody has asked a question, and they say it's a very basic question. If someone has not registered their company, how can they reach the investors to jumpstart the process and reach the potential customers?
Okay. See, basically, if you look at the early stage investments, right, and this the specifically a lot of these incubators, right. Um, the incubators also has some investors associated to it. So some of these incubators do not mandate that you need to have registered to be able to get the funding, for example. But that differs from the incubation center to incubation center, depending on the process that they have, depending on where you are, right? So basically, as long as your incubation center is not mandating your registration, you can still be an individual entity who has registered with that center, who is going through the process. And then once they find that it is emerging well, the investor connected to that center can actually, at that time, the process can start such that you register and then you get the money transferred. But depending on the process and the regulation that the incubating centers could have, this process can vary. Yeah.
So, in a manner, it is possible to reach out to the investors even without registering the company.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. There's another question. How does empathy influence customer service?
Empathy influence customer service. When you say customer service here, is it like the after building the product, the support that you have to lend to be lending to the customer, or is it uh, the or what you're building itself is a service? Hitesh, if you could clarify further there. A general answer to it is basically your customer empathy influences everything that you try to do, right? So because you will have to be grounded with the customer and his problems that as I was stating earlier, right? So anything that you do in the process, like for example, what happens is your one of the very good outcome from your problem collection phase is your persona, right? For example, you will define a certain John. For example, a John is a guy who's 50 plus years old. He is owning a small business, and as part of that, he is using these accounting softwares. He has on accounting product, for example, and stuff like that. You will have some attributes defined, the demographic attributes and the product usage attributes. Now, at any stage of solution, right, whenever you have a doubt whether you are doing a solution and you have a doubt whether to do it this way or that way, your persona should be able to answer for you. If you go back to your persona attributes, you will be able to see whether this will actually help them or not, the assumption that you are making, whether it is actually true for them or not, right? So that your your empathy and to some extent the translation into that persona attributes, right, that is what is going to keep you grounded across the process to make sure that you are building something that the customer wants, and something that is something the market needs.
Right. So Hitesh has added what we are building. So that's what he
Yeah.
wanted to. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Right. I don't see more questions as of now, but we'll keep you in the loop. Okay. Yeah.
Sure.
There's one more question. It says how Intuit can help startup in its early stage.
Yeah, I would probably defer this question to the Intuit Circle team if anyone has joined in already, so they
We have
can
the
better
AMA
cover it.
session in a while, so we will be doing it there then. Yes, Karina will be
Yeah,
taking up your questions in the AMA session then.
yeah,
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Thangavel. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your insight. We look forward to more interactions with you. And
sure.
yeah, now we're going to move to the second
So
phase
thanks a
of
lot, everyone.
second part of this session. Okay, so moving to the next session for the day, we are going to talk about Intuit Platform Workshop. In this session, you will learn about Intuit, the vision and the products, QuickBooks platform overview, integration with QuickBooks, and why you should integrate. We'll also be learning step by step. We'll be getting a step by step guide for that. We'll give you the coding samples and typical challenges. And for this, I would like to invite Mr. Rajesh Gupta. He's a solution architect at Intuit Developer Group. Rajesh is a software architect with 18 plus years of hands on experience as architect, consultant, technical leader, advisor, and developer. Over to you, Rajesh.
Thank you, Anamika. Can you hear me well?
Yeah,
All right. So, hello, everyone, and welcome to this session. And please get excited for this new development thing. I know the developers community have been waiting for APIs and integration and all those fun stuff. So, here we are. So, without further delay, thank you, Anamika, for my quick introduction. As Anamika mentioned, I have been with Intuit for more than a year now. And currently, we are engaged with doing a lot of integrations with the partners and strategic integrations with the systems based on the need from our customers. So today, let me quickly share my screen and we'll walk over the agenda for the meeting. Right. So just not asking. Are you able to see my screen? Asking for permissions to cancel. Not cancel. Let me try again. Okay.
Hi Rajesh. Yeah, now we can see your screen.
Okay. Sounds good. Are you able to see the screen showing the green screen Intuit developer platform? Hello?
Yes, Rajesh, we can.
Okay. Sounds good. So team, this is the agenda for our discussion today. So we will quickly go over the Intuit vision for the business and the community that we are serving. What are the different products and for what communities they are meant for, and what different areas of the solutions to the business problems, customers problem Intuit is catering to. We'll quickly go over the QuickBooks platform, mostly from the capability standpoint, without diving deep into it. And then the core of the agenda is the QuickBooks APIs and the integration part, the fun part. So we'll get into the details of why do we need to integrate in the first place, right? What is the need for it? And then how Intuit is offering the public APIs and anyone can integrate with any of the QuickBooks products. And get started. I'll walk you through the different development tools that you will have, at your exposure, and then you would be using some of these tools or all of them when you are completing your integration with the QuickBooks products. Some of the typical challenges: frequently asked questions, where to go, where to post your questions, and a tremendous amount of support has been built into it. So you don't have to worry about it in case you are stuck at some point. And quickly walk over the all these APIs. We will also make some API calls to see and pull the data, APIs and responses, and then we can pick up and open up the questions and answers. So without further delay, as you know, that Intuit is being known as the accounting software company, right? But the vision is to be the source of truth, not from the accounting, but also the source of truth for the entire customer business, right? So that Intuit can provide the end-to-end solutions to small and mid-market business. And especially, it's like complete enterprise resource planning software that caters to the need of everything, so that business can focus on their business growth without worrying about how to run their accounting, how to run their integrations with different software, and so forth. So everything can be built into one piece of software. That is the Intuit's vision, and that's what we are striving for. Just to give you a quick snapshot, and all this information is available on the Intuit's website. There are 16 development sites. We have more than 50 million customers worldwide. There are more than 75 plus open source repos, and about 4K and about technologists working on it. So that's the power of the platform that Intuit is exposing, and how many developer communities and consumers are using their services. And it is built on the cutting edge technology. It's an AI driven expert platform. We do have the artificial intelligence built in around it, and we cover all the mobile and other aspects as well. From the product standpoint, we have three main products: TurboTax, QuickBooks, and Mint. We also have ProConnect that provides the services to the accountants. So I will not go into the details of what all those things, but the idea is that the products will help the individuals, whether you have to file a tax, whether you have to manage your expenses, and for self-employed people and so forth, and for small businesses as well as for accountants. So just to give you a snapshot of how widely these financial products are going to help the different communities and people across different domains. QuickBooks. So Intuit is known for QuickBooks, which is nothing but the accounting package for the small business. And QuickBooks is available in different flavors. We have online, we have desktop, and we also have at the enterprise level. It's another flavor for desktop at the enterprise level. Now, from the QuickBooks standpoint, just to give you a very small flavor for what these solutions, QuickBooks is providing solutions for the accounting, for payments, for payroll, for T-sheets, for anything to do on the commerce or e-commerce capabilities. And if you look from the business standpoint, who is using these QuickBooks? Small business, mid-sized business, freelancers, accountants, they all are using QuickBooks to manage their business solutions. And these are some of the flavors for the business solutions. The reason I'm mentioning this, so that when you're doing the integration and you get to hear the plus and advanced and essentials, you should have an idea about what flavor of QuickBooks we are talking about. So it is available in self-employed, start, essentials, and so forth. So these are the different SKUs for QuickBooks. Now, as I mentioned, right, QuickBooks platform is covering the business practice. It is covering the accounting practice, which is the core strength of QuickBooks, the financial accounting solutions. It is also covering the developer community. So this is what I will quickly go over this. So if you look at this QuickBooks, the core is accounting capabilities, payroll, payments, anything you can think of when you're running a business as a business merchant, business customer. You're running a business and you would need anything to do with your money in, money out, is what this accounting software package can deal with. All the accountants. Uh, from business standpoint, QuickBooks can standalone can manage and grow your business. It can manage the your employees, vendor management, your end customers, and help with your end customer transactions. Right. Practice management. So we know, especially if you are an accountant and you would manage with your clients, and clients are the other customers with their business needs, then as an accountant, you will have to serve your clients and manage the financial needs of their financial needs. So in that case, QuickBooks has a solution for those accountants, and you can grow your practice there. Tax filing, anything to do with the accountancy. And finally, the the application integration. So QuickBooks is exposing APIs. They're all public-facing APIs. Anyone in the world can use those APIs. There are no charges for this. You can use those APIs, do the integration with the QuickBooks, and start reaping the benefit of your this accounting application. So these were some of the quick marketing contents that I just wanted to walk you through. But now we will jump into the core of the discussion today, which I would like to pay more attention. And before we jump in, these are some of the data points about who is using QuickBooks and how many people across the world are using it. Just some of them are highlighted here in pink color. Like you can see, there are about 1.4 million visitors on our app store. Apps.com is our domain, Intuit's domain, apps.com, and you can see more than 9 million customers, developers visit them. There are about 40,000 plus developers accounts were created in FY19 itself, and there are more than 1 million KBO connections. So just to give you a highlight of how many people are going to use this and how many people are already using it. And from the third-party ecosystem standpoint, there were about 14.8 million transactions in FY19 itself. So that's the so many billions, so many millions of transactions are happening throughout the year, and a platform is built and robust enough to handle all those transactions. So, and this is what I'll quickly walk you through. How does this QuickBooks Online looks like once you log in, and what are the capabilities in order to run your software? So I'll give you a quick demo on this one towards the end. Okay, so the core of the discussion, developer platform. Why do we need to integrate in the first place? So if you look at the small business owner who is running the business, they might have 9 employees or maybe 9 to 100 employees, who knows. If you think from their perspective, they say that we need additional tools beyond the QuickBooks to run their business and to save time. Just to give you a quick example, right? When you work as a developer, you don't need just only your development environment and IDE and the software. Let's say you were working on a Java application, J2E and Tomcat, and just running environment. You also need Outlook, check your emails. You also need Slack channel or some kind of channel to communicate with your team and across the team. You also need Google Drive to store your data. You also need something to do your opportunities management, like any kind of CRM system, customer relationship management systems, and so forth. So essentially what I'm saying is, even though we have QuickBooks to take care of your accounting needs, right? Now, QuickBooks alone cannot do everything. It is dependent on the other capabilities, other areas. If you have to send an email, okay, MailChimp is there, or Gmail is available. If you have to, if you're running an e-commerce channel, then you have Amazon, you have, Shopify, you have other channels available, eBay, right? So you would need to deal with all of them. As a business owner, if they have to click on QuickBooks on one side, enter the data there, and then they have to go on the Gmail and enter the data, or their Salesforce system to enter the data there, the two different systems, then it's too much of work for them. The ideal situation would be if the one software can handle all the data. You enter data at one place, it shows them in the shows up in the other system, and vice versa, right? So that is the need for integrated app ecosystems. So these are some of the needs why QuickBooks would be needing to integrate with the other systems to run the payroll, to make the payments, right? And to do the invoicing, to do the e-commerce, and so forth. So that brings to the stage that, okay, now we understood that we need to integrate QuickBooks with the other applications, right? And when you're doing the integrations, these are some of the key concepts you would encounter, or you would have already encountered in your previous integrations, that you have to deal with API connectivity and their different data formats. And the JSON and REST are the widely used by the industry and also by our QuickBooks APIs. You have to authenticate yourself as a user of those APIs, and OAuth 2 is the widely used mechanism for authentication. And then you may have to do some data transformation. There are two different systems. QuickBooks is a different system. Gmail is a different systems. Or let's say MailChimp is a different system. If you transform the data from one system to the another, you have to write down that adapter layer, right? So that's where data transformation comes into the picture. And then there could be more than just data transformation, getting and quicking the data. There might be workflows, right? Do something, then do something, and then do something, kind of thing, right? One step by step. So there might be workflows, and you might have to orchestrate multiple services to get a unit of work done, business work done. You may have to do some background processing, and then you would also need event subscriptions and notifications. So I'm sure that most of you are familiar with this one. If not, then get familiar before you dive deep into the integration. That might be very helpful. Moving on, how do we get started with integrating, writing an application using the APIs exposed by QuickBooks, right? Very simple steps. I would say very simple 4 steps, and you are on your toes to start working and integrating with QuickBooks. Just go to the developer account, open your account there. It is free, and just enter your email and other details, and create an Intuit developer account. Once you create an account, you create an application, create an app, right? And I'll walk you through all these steps in a demo so that everything is clear. And then once the app has been created, as I mentioned, that you need to authenticate yourself before using the APIs, right? So generate the OAuth tokens and pick up the API. What do you want to do with those APIs and the resources, and start calling those APIs. Pretty simple. And start working on it. So the key thing here is, if you already know what is the business logic, what use case you're trying to implement, then use of the APIs is a piece of cake to start with. And then start working on it, integrate what you need, data from QuickBooks, or the data that you need to push to the QuickBooks, either ways, both ways, and get the work done, and you are integrated. And after integration, you can go forward. So these are some of the API resources. When I say API resources, that will be doing the the CRUD operations, right? Get get, read, and update and delete. So these are the few entities you would be dealing with. If there are customers related estimations, invoice created by for a given customer, payments made by a customer, or the sales receipt, and so forth. If you are dealing with the banking operations, then QuickBooks and banking operations can work hand in hand. So if you have integrated your banks, you have ICICI, SBI, SDFC, Citibank, they are integrated with your QuickBooks accounting. Now, every time you pay an invoice, it will automatically deduct from your corresponding bank account, which has been, linked, and work can be done immediately. Payments can be made, and so forth. So, right. So these are the API resources that you would be dealing with. And okay, next one is developer tools. So what tools are available at your disposal? So at your disposal, so that you can use them, leverage them, and here you go. If you want to get familiar with how this OAuth is working and quickly get it started, OAuth Playground is available for you. And we will have, we'll quickly see how at runtime, how this playground works. You have sandbox created, sandbox companies can be created. So in the terminology of QuickBooks, the mothership entity is called company, right? And all your entities, customer, invoicing, estimation, everything comes as a child of that entity, mother entity called company, right? And API, you can explore what APIs to use, what does they do, what are the request and response formats, and so forth. What SDKs are available for you, software development kits, and these kits are publicly available at GitHub repo, and you can just go grab them. And some of the sample codes are already available, ready to use. Go there, grab it, change your API keys, and you're good to go to start with. So some boilerplate codes are already written there to just give you a jump start on the API, so that the idea is you can focus more on the business logic that you need to implement to get the piece of work done for the integration, and not worry too much about the how to start using the APIs. Postman, if HTTP clients are available, so that you can see at runtime, make a request, get put post, delete, and then get the responses back. So all these tools are available very easily. You can start using them and leverage them. So these are some of the for the demo part. I'll quickly walk you through. So I'll skip these screens because we will see these screens at runtime. And we have developer tools, as I mentioned, right? API Explorer, SDKs, Postman, everything. And the playground. So we'll quickly go over what does it mean, what does it do, and how does it help me start making an API call. These are some of the sandbox companies you can create for different regions. And as being in India, we would be starting with the India-based companies and start playing around with that. And these are the APIs that you can make and call, and also associate those APIs with your sandbox, and the pull data is specific to your sandbox, so that you can see at runtime what is the response coming. If I give my company ID means the company that I have created on my sandbox account, it can give you the API request and responses right there. And then these are the Postman calls. And we have the SDKs available as well. So in case you have a specific need to use the Python or Node.js or Ruby, then these libraries are available and you can leverage any one of them. These are some of the typical challenges that might come based on my experience and our team's experience with other people who have tried to integrate, and all of them we can solve very easily. So in case you encounter some of these issues, do not worry. The whole team is available here to help you out. Different channels are available to unblock you and quickly help you move over to the next steps. And these are the places where you can go and for help and support. So everything is there, and we will be also sharing this deck on the Slack channel so that all these links and references are available to all of you, and you can quickly refer them as needed. Let me see what is needed. Yeah, and these are some references. So let me quickly go over to our developer board. And so very simple. Even on the Google, you can always say in Intuit developer. And here you go, right? So you land up with this page. Initially, you just, if you have not signed up, go ahead and sign up, enter your very basic information, first name, last name, email, and phone number, so that you can get your multi-factor authentication there. Create an account there. Once you have created an account, then you should be able to log back in. Before we do that, let me quickly see if we have any questions pending. Do we have any questions from anyone?
Yeah, there is a question. Can we integrate VBook with Slack to get notification or directly onto a Slack?
Yes, you can do that. And we'll go over this. So, so let me just sign in. And we'll again pick up more questions once I'm done with this demonstration. So this demonstration might answer some of your questions already. So just hold on to your other questions and we'll pick them up. So let's say I have signed up and I'll have logged in. Now, once log in, as you can see, I can check my profile. I can check, this is the area where you can create the sandbox. So sandbox is the area where you can create your sample company files, play around with this, the APIs, do whatever you have to do to get the integration or the piece of work done. And once you're ready, you can jump from sandbox company to the production company, right? So let's see what does it look like. So if you click on sandbox, I have created some bunch of these sandbox company based on the different needs that I was playing around with. So you click on add a sandbox company. It's going to ask you for what kind of are you using online plus or online advanced. Currently online advanced sandbox is available only for in United States based company. So we will stick to QuickBooks Online Plus, and you can just pick up India and just say add. So since I have already created one here, so this is the one I have already created, Sandbox Company IN2. Now, if you click on this link, and this will open up the QuickBooks Online Plus software with your company already open, right? As you can see, Sandbox Company is already open. And now this is the QuickBooks Online software. This is the dashboard, right? Whatever you do, all this data, snapshot, how many invoices you have created, expenses you have created, P&L, how many bank accounts you have integrated, and so forth, will all show up on a dashboard, and you can pick and choose what you want and what you don't want, right? And so I'll quickly go over these sections as and when you might be using or you would be interested, and feel free to explore more of them. So I'm not going into the details of the functional feature overview. So if you as a merchant user of QuickBooks deal with the banking, then you can click on the banking and set up the rules for reconciliation of your QuickBooks account with the bank's data, right? So I can open up an ICICI account here, and I do transactions using my ICICI savings account or Citibank account or SBI account or and Chase account, and then I would like to connect my QuickBooks with those bank accounts, so that any transactions that are happening in the bank can sync back into the QuickBooks and vice versa, right? Then you have, this is the area where you would create all your expenses. You can enter your vendors and suppliers. This is the area where you go and create your sales. If you're working specific to a customer projects, then you would like to create your sample projects and related entities at one place there. If as a merchant customer, you may have to manage your own employees, right? And here you can add all those employees and give them access rights, what they can do, what they cannot do. And these are the different reports out of the box that gets generated when you're using the software. And you can set up your taxes here, GST. So QuickBooks is GST compliant, and you can set up and your GST and their rates there itself, right? So as per the Indian government, GST rates have been set up, and if you have a specific needs in your business, you can you can update them. And this is the area for the accounting where you can create your chart of accounts, right? So based on if you want to categorize your transactions, financial transactions under one account for a specific bank, you work with the bank. You would like to mention all your accounts, transactions corresponding to that bank under this, so that reconciliation, filtering, and sorting and searching can become handy. So you can use that. So these are the and then this is the area for if you are an accountant, right? And you would like to go and communicate with your accountant, and so this is what you can mention. And on the other side, your accountant would be using QBO accountant software to manage the different clients, and you as a merchant customer being one of those clients. And that's the area where all third-party ecosystems can be added. So because it is a sandbox account, you still see some of the test applications here, right? Once you open a production account, you would see a lot more areas. So production account also, you can go ahead and sign up for the production. It's a 30-day trial available in case you want to get a glimpse of what the software production would look like. Production would have the applications here that you can search for your payroll, payment, and other ones that about the integrations that have already been completed, and they are integrated with the QuickBooks. So that was a very quick overview of your sandbox that we clicked, right? So we clicked on the sandbox. Here we were. So this is the sandbox companies that we have created. And then as you can see my dashboard, if you click on it, I already have dashboard open. I can create an app because I have already created one. It shows up there. In your case, in case you have not created, just click on create an app, and you might see you can create an app for QuickBooks Online payments, right? As I mentioned, that there are a few other tiles, but based on the geographic areas, it may not be available to you. It may be available to those geographic areas only, or it may be custom built. So currently QuickBooks Online and payments are available, and you can create one. And because I've already created one, so I see this app there. Now what this app does is, right, I can click on this app, and as you can see, right, I mentioned these are the development areas, and once you're ready to move everything into the production, you can create a production level keys and authentications and other things. So let's quickly go one by one in this area. So keys and OAuths. So these are the API keys. So there are two of them, client ID and the client secret, and then you can use them, copy them, use these API keys in your configuration file, right? And you're good to go. These are the redirect URIs that you may have to specify. So you're making an API call and you would like to see the response back in the Postman. specify Postman. If you want to see this in your playground, then you specify this. And if you have an application running localhost that you're testing, and this is the port at which this application is running, and you want to see the callback response coming and hitting that endpoint, that you can mention that, right? So, and these are the runtime statistics on how many connections you're using. These are the webhooks that you can use. So webhooks, as I mentioned, are used for event subscription, pub and sub. So currently, QuickBooks is exposing these for these specific entities. These are the webhooks exposed. Let's say for an account, I'm interested in knowing every time accounts are deleted or updated or created, you would like to get notified. You means the app developer of the application, right? Who's integrating with QuickBooks. Then you can configure that, right? Rest everyone, you can unclick and just pick the one that you are interested in, and you are good to go. So this is the area where you configure how your app should behave. Now, going over to the playground, as I mentioned, right, the OAuth 2 is the authentication protocol which is being used. It's industry standard protocol, as most of you might already know, right? So before you can go and use these APIs, you have to authenticate yourself and make sure that your QuickBooks company is allowing you to, pull this data from the QuickBooks account, and so that you can see this at the API level. So let's start using this. So let's say I selected an app. This is the Sandbox app I had created. So for the Sandbox account, because every time you create a Sandbox account, client ID and client secret has already been created. Then you specify what do you want. You want this authentication for different scopes. I would like to have accounting. I would like to have, let's say, email and phone and email address and payments or OpenID and so forth, right? Or profile information. So I'll click on, okay, get me an authorization code. So it will go and I'll talk to the App Center in the QuickBooks, and now it will say, hey, QuickBooks, do you allow this developer with this authentication to pull data from your company, QuickBooks company? And you say, because I happen to have more than one companies, it shows all of them here. So I'm going to pick one of them. I'll say, okay, allow to pull data from one of this company. So that's the kind of consent that is happening between the API or OAuth and your QuickBooks. Once the consent has been done, you get the authorization code. And every time you get an authorization code, when you created a company is also known as a realm ID. So in the terminology of QuickBooks, we go with the realm ID. So realm ID is a given. Now, once you get this, you say, okay, get me tokens. Okay, so you'll get the auth tokens. So auth tokens are available to you. And the next step, we have already copied this auth token for you. Then you say, okay, now I got the auth token. I'm ready to call the APIs, QuickBooks APIs. Say, okay, which QuickBooks APIs you would like to call? Say, okay, I would like to call accounting APIs. And within the accounting, I would like to see the company information. You call this, and here you go. So this is the request, the top portion here. And this is the response, right? So as you can see, it says it's in get API call for a company ID and get me a company information. And here as a JSON response, you are getting all the company information, right? So whatever you see here, you'll be getting it at your API response in your code, right? And you're good. And then, as you know, that the tokens are available for, I believe, 60 days or something, right? You can check the time it expires, and you can always refresh a token, it will refresh the access token. So you need a refresh token in order to refresh the access token that you have. And refresh token expires for a longer period of time, maybe 180 days or something, right? So so these are the API calls that you would be making on a high level. Get the auth code to from the auth code, get the token, use this token to make the API calls, get the API responses, and if needed, you can refresh your tokens, right? Another part is the, as I mentioned, the you have your APIs, right? So if you click on this area, you have API Explorer. So let me quickly go over this. So what it means is that, let's say I want to read an account. So as I mentioned here, right? So every time you come here and if you're logged in, it knows what are the sandbox companies you have created and which data you would like to pull in. And if I click on the sandbox company and make an API call, boom, right there itself, you can get the responses. So this is the response corresponding to the API company that I have. So this is API, company ID and company ID. So at runtime, you can get all the information there itself. I have a company info. I would like to read the company info. And because I am in the context of my company ID, I can get an API company ID, and it will give me the complete company ID response here. Right. Same thing, you can also get it. There are other tools available, as you mentioned, right? So you have Sand API references that will give you the details about what is the API you need to make a call, input request, input parameters, and responses, and so forth. This area. Other ones are the Postman, right? So as I mentioned here, if you click run in Postman, if you have Postman client available on your machine and you would like to run this HTTP client, you say click on run in Postman. Because I already have it open here, it will automatically insert this collection of APIs into your Postman. So you will have the full exposure to accounting APIs, bill payment, company information, customer, and so forth, right? So with very minimal information that you need to provide, you can just specify. It's just all built in. Nothing I have written. So everything is built in. I just need to provide what is my base URL is mentioned. What is my company ID I'm dealing with? What is the version I'm dealing with? Version of the API I'm dealing with? And you update your collection. Boom, you're good to call an API. So for example, account, right? So and here for your Postman, I'm sure that you would be using the auth2. Use the auth2. Specify what token you would be using. I've created some token. Otherwise, you can always create one token here, and you can say use those tokens. And or you can say get me your token at this point of time. It might ask you the further details, and make an API call, and it will give you the responses. Authentication failed because token might have expired, so I get a new token. So every time you get requesting a new token, it will ask you to log in. So all this frame, and it would say, the same consent screen, which company you're talking to. Let's say this is one of my company. It has a good amount of data. That's the reason I'm using it. I click this company. I say okay, use this token, and then I make an API call. Boom. Now you have the complete responses, right? So you have the details about your accounting APIs. You want to get, if you have some bills you have created, you can, the complete CRUD operations here itself from the HTTP client, and so forth, right? You want to get your company information, read by company ID, and get the specify the details, and you can get it. So that is the another screen you can use. Let me switch over to the So I think that covers pretty much the tools that we wanted to explore. Let me see if I have not missed anything. So we wanted to cover the different tools because that is what you would be using it. So we covered the playground, we covered the sandbox, API, SDKs. So we have a GitHub repo. You can go and download those SDKs. We have a sample codes available. I have it open here as well. So you can go to github.com into developer, and I have those links available in the deck that we'll be sharing with all of you. And you can, if you're using .NET or if you're using Ruby on Rails or Python and so forth, just search on the GitHub and pull. So it's a boilerplate code is written and you can start using it. And we also have the SDKs available. So github.com and Intuit, and you will get all the SDKs and some of the tools available for test automation and so forth. Right. So it's an open community, and you can contribute as well in case you want to. So these are the things available, and so you're good to get started and working on it. I think we covered everything here. We covered the Postman as well. Let me go to the presentation in case we have missed anything. We covered tools, playground, sandbox, API, Postman, SDKs are there. Is in the presentation mode. So as I mentioned, and again, that in case you are stuck at something, all the participants are on the Slack channel. Feel free to answer. And here I mentioned which support channel to use when. So if you have specific questions that how to, and very generic questions, feel free to use the Slack channel. If there's something specific to your authentication password or something, then we have a tech support team available. You will have to go and open a ticket there and just open a ticket, and they might reach out to you and give you the response. And if there are very other specific questions on wider questions on how to do this thing, so there are dearth of questions that have already been asked and answered, and you are welcome to go to the developer forum and go from there and search it out, and you might find your answers there. There's the whole lot of references available. And again, this is our Intuit Circles who is running this Codeathon. And if you have specific questions or you would like to go and browse and see what Intuit Circle does and so forth, you can reach it. These are the API, SDK, and GitHub code repos. These are the Intuit developers on the YouTube, and their blogs are available. And people have asked those questions, and some presentations are already there, and you're free to watch those videos and get familiar in no time. These are the QuickBooks specific guides, as I was quickly walking you through the QuickBooks QBO online, expenses and banking and other menu items. So these are the details on how to do that. And eventually, when you're ready to export your data from the company file, from the sandbox to the production to the another production company file, then you can use some of those links here or reach out to us. And this is the initial step on how to get started. 4 steps that I mentioned, right? With that, I think we can open up for any questions that you have, and I'm free to answer those questions.
Hi, thank you very much for this insightful session. So I'll quickly go back to the question that was asked initially. Can we integrate webhooks with Slack?
Can we integrate webhooks with Slack? So
Yeah.
I know that there are different tools and platforms already available. And within the Intuit team, we within the Intuit products, like one Intuit product team will work with another Intuit product team, and some of these products are also integrated. So within the Intuit platform, we do have a platform available called the App Connect, and that App Connect talks to the it provides the built-in connectors to connect between your QuickBooks and the Slack. Now that App Connect platform has not been open for public yet, but you will have to leverage the APIs from the Slack channel, and from the Slack channel, you'll have to call the APIs of the QuickBooks. So you might have to write down in one application that deals with Slack channel to QuickBooks to read the data from the QuickBooks, and then do it, because externally within the Intuit we could do it, and we have already done it because of the platform that we have already available. But yes, it can be done, and it is quite possible.
All right. So there's another question. How do we sign up to Slack channel?
So we, our Intuit Circles team, I'll request them to send it out to you. I think there is a Slack channels available, and they will send out an email to all of you. And where's my presentation? Yeah, this presentation. So there's a Slack channel available here, and probably we will request them to send this information out to all of you. All of you should be able to, and I've seen many people have already signed up. So I don't know the process behind it, but I can request the right people to send out
Maybe
this
we can take it up
information.
in the AMA session then.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the next question is: does a self-employed version of QuickBooks calculate tax on your income?
Self-employed, I have not personally used the self-employed one. So I believe the self-employed should do that, because tax is one of the integral part of your business, right? So I would assume that it will do it, but I'm not sure about it. This is something you'll have to go to the but this information should be available on our website
Right.
under the
Okay. The next
self-employed
question.
software. Yeah,
So maybe again the AMA session would be the right place.
probably yes, yeah.
So which platform can be used to collaborate to Intuit GitHub repositories?
Which platform you can directly write? GitHub is available for everyone, so you can, GitHub is the code repository, right? So you can just, okay, so you mean that you would like to integrate with the GitHub through your application, right, and pull something out from there? Is that the question?
Um,
So
so it
so
says which platform can be used to collaborate to Intuit GitHub repositories. So, okay, is there any specific platform that we can refer to?
no, you can, which you can go and use the GitHub any platform. If you're using Ruby on Rails, if you're using Python, if you're using .NET, if you're using Java based systems, any of them, you can go and reach out to GitHub. This GitHub is in public repository. Yeah, it's available for
Right.
everyone. So did I
Right.
answer this question? I mean, or was there something else they would like to know?
So, Shubham, does it help? Or if you have some follow-up question, you can post it here.
Yep.
So next question is: we saw 6 problem statements, and our solution could target 2. How do we present this?
And our solution could target to, how do we present this? So if you look at your problem statements, it's more of like, how can we get more customers, right? Or how can we solve the payment solutions? So in my presentation, there was a slide talking about the app ecosystem, right? And the different cases, the use cases that we have. So think on those lines, and then and see, in order to cover those two problem statements, what APIs you may have to use and leverage, and then start using those APIs. So when you say how do we present this, I believe you are saying then how do we go and select one of those two problem statements, right? You so any one of you are free to use any of those problem statements as per your ease or the domain expertise or your background or something, right? Let's say if you are more familiar with the payment sections, right, or you have done some of the work in the payment areas, then you can open up a payroll or the payments areas, right? How do we do the payment? So your app could be a payment app, which integrates with, let's say, UPI or Google Pay, and for your app might need some details from QuickBooks. So bring the information from QuickBooks, pull the bills from the QuickBooks, and then make a corresponding payment through your app. Your app might be integrated with the UPI or Google Pay, as I said, or PayPal.
Right. Okay, so there's another question. Is QuickBook and GAS not authorizing with QuickBook JS?
QuickBooks and what is the other one?
GAS.
What is GAS?
Somebody has to answer that.
Sorry, I didn't know. In Intuit also we use so many terminology, so that it's better to clarify.
Yeah. So there is another question. Just a minute. I think I missed one question somewhere.
Okay.
Just a second. So it says, okay, I think we've covered that part. So this question needs a bit of
Okay.
clarity. This is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
QuickBooks and GAS not authorizing with QuickBooks.js. So I need to know what is the GAS, and maybe if they can post this question in our Slack channel, and I can reach out to a specific team that we have and get the answers for you.
Yeah. Right. So that's we posted the Slack channel link here for all of you to have a look at it and join. It's in the chat, so you can join the channel here. Right. So now we are going to move to the last leg of the program, which is your AMA session. Um, so here in the AMA session, you can ask your queries, and for that, we would have Mr. Aditya Dixit with us. He's a product group manager at Intuit. He's a product leader. He's well versed in leveraging customer empathy to drive growth, advocacy, and culture change. He has 12 plus years of experience across startups and Fortune 500 companies, and he would be addressing your queries now.
Hi, Anamika.
Hi.
Thank you for that introduction.
Hi. So we would be taking up a few questions that are going to come here. Um, okay. So the question that we saw earlier was, okay, there are a few questions that were there. Does a self-employed version of QuickBooks calculate tax on your personal income?
Sure. Let me take that question, but just to begin with, let me introduce my colleague Archana, who would be a part of
Hi,
this session
Arjun.
as well. Archana, would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, hi. I know this was not planned as part of the overall one, but I'm here to answer any questions that you might have on the Codeathon and specifically on Intuit Circles. By way of introduction, I currently run the starter program at Intuit. So that's why you see me on the screen.
Awesome. So,
Thank you. Thank you, Aditya. Thank you, Ramika.
yeah. Getting to the question,
Welcome.
Anamika, does the QuickBooks
Yeah,
self-employed product? Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
self-employed version of QuickBooks calculate the tax on your income?
So if I understand the question correctly, it seems like somebody is interested in using the product and to calculate their taxes? The short answer is yes, it does, but unfortunately it does not does so in India because the product is not available in India right now. So please do send us your feedback. You can send that via Slack, or even hit us up on Twitter or LinkedIn. We'll make sure that self-employed team knows that people in India are looking forward for it, so that they can bring it here.
All right. So the next question is, which platform can be used to collaborate to Intuit GitHub repositories? Is there any specific platform dedicated to it?
I'm sorry, that would something which Rajesh will be very, very familiar with. But can we park that, and we can probably take it in the Slack channel if Rajesh is still around? Cool. Let's park that, and we'll come back to that.
Right. Okay. Now the question that came was, hang on. How are solutions evaluated?
Sure. So let me start off with that, and Archana, please do pitch in. Really, the solutions will be evaluated on basis of three things. Number one, obviously, the impact. As it's mentioned out in the brief itself, the fact is you're looking to solve a problem and solve it well for the small businesses. How well did you solve it? Number two is process is important as well. Like if you would have attended the Muthu sessions, how did you went about understanding the problem? How did you speak to customers? How did you evaluate your solution? Have you already got it out in the market? What kind of metrics are we seeing? The proof is in the pudding, so the process matters as well. And the third thing, and this tends to be under evaluated as such, is it's not just about obviously about technical brilliance, but it's also about customer empathy. Is your solution robust? That's an important piece. But at the same time, how well you have used your research in order to tailor the solution to match your customer persona. Those are the three things which will be the top considerations. Archana, anything else that you would like to add there?
Yeah, I think that's a great one, Aditya. And I know, team, once you have built your solutions, there are a bunch of questions that you're asked before you submit the app. And we also have a little bit about your team profiles and what you do. So as much as Aditya mentioned about, what is the problem that you're trying to solve, how relevant it is, we also have people from Intuit chiming in who have a lot of, like, folks like Aditya or are on the evaluation panel, who have a very close ear to the customer. So in terms of the problem or solution itself that you have arrived, and how well it is solving the customer problem. Also, like, how serious are you about taking this live and making it a real startup, right? We are okay, we're inviting all idea stage companies as well, but we're also looking at someone, how solid your go to market plan is, how willing are you to take this to the market and make it happen as well. And also a little bit about your team background also does influence, like, the team profiles that have come together to build the company or the solution that you're submitting. So those are some of the ones we are considering, along with what Aditya has mentioned. I hope that answers the question.
Well, I hope
Namika.
that's so. Saurav, if you have a follow-up question for this, please do post it in the chat. The next question is, the video that we are required to submit, what should it include and how long the video can be?
Yeah, I can take that first, and then Aditya can also chime in. The reason why, the intent behind us asking for a video is for us to quickly understand what does your app really does, right? So definitely don't keep it to more than 5 minutes. As brief as possible is great. So anything that helps create a good understanding about the application, the customer problem that you're going after, what you built. I think that will be a good one. Aditya, feel free to add any
Sure.
additional thoughts there.
Just a cheat sheet code would be, if in that video you have a few customer testimonies before and after, that would be even more awesome.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anything that that has validated that you've already spoken to customers. I think that's like the best.
All right. Okay, Saurav has another question now. So he says, with respect to the customers, is there a plan where we could have an open session after office hours with few customers and understand some challenges from them?
That's a great question, Saurav. Unfortunately, we've not planned that as part of the existing one, but we'll definitely take this in as a feedback for the next event that we're doing. We could definitely share tips on how you could recruit customers or talk to them. Some of the sample size which product managers like Aditya do day in and day out. Some of the ways can be like just talking to some of the small and medium businesses in your locality, right? Like people whom are facing this issue, and begin with that, and probably begin with talking to like even 5 customers to begin with, to just validate what you're thinking about. Is that really the problem that we're going after? I'm sure Muthu covered this extensively in the first session, so that should have given you a ton of inputs on how do you actually go about gathering the customer requirements. But I'll also give it to Aditya to just give a little bit of flavor around how you go about recruiting and actually getting those inputs.
Sure. And I remember there was a question about this earlier, that how do we encourage customers to actually submit feedback? But the core of it, like Arjun actually explained, is just that, simply asking. And you would be surprised on how quickly people open up to talk about things that they care about. And the fact that they're opening up to you, that actually indicates that you have hit a sweet spot. You have actually picked up a pain which is worth solving. I'll give you an example of the same D4D methodology that we use, that we were trying to solve a problem back in Tucson, Arizona. So we were trying to actually understand how do customers download our product. We have about close to 24 to 25 product SKUs. When you get to the website, there is a list, and how do they actually understand what to get down? And we were trying to solve that. So what we did was we actually made a few designs simply on a sheet of paper, walked out, went to a few stores, and then just simply asked customers, hey, would you like to just give us feedback for 5 minutes? And almost 9 out of the 10 people that we spoke to agreed. We showed them the sheet that gave us a clear layman's idea of how do they look at things. For example, we learned whenever people actually search something on Google, they do not click the first 3 links because everybody knows that's ads. They click the fourth link. After they click on the fourth link, then we realize that, okay, what is the first thing that they notice on the particular page? We realize that they don't actually care about the version of the product. They care about the year of the product. And then what we did was went back to office, now made the actual screens, and then went out and tested with customers again. So the first step is actually getting out of your comfort zone. I know it's not easy, stepping out of the office and speaking to customers. At the same time, then there can be certain formal ways of getting some of the feedback. So the 3 ways that we actually do is, number one, there are agencies which can help you to get in touch with customers. These are the marketing agencies who have a ready pool of customers that you can tap into for quick insights. There are marketing agencies in India. There is also tools like SurveyMonkey where you can get some quick feedback as there. Second point is actually creating a community of your users. For example, QuickBooks Desktop, we have a community of alpha and beta testers that we have built up over last 10 years, where we regularly share our features and we get feedback from them. So these are the customers we are engaging at a very regular level. It's a formalized program, and we get the feedback. The third thing that you can absolutely try is proxy feedback. Now, proxy feedback is essentially through subject matter experts. There are people who can represent a large chunk of users for you. For example, with respect to Codeathon, a great proxy user will be accountant, because they are speaking to 100, 200 small businesses at any point of time, and they can, in very quick amount of time, give you insights that would save you a lot of time as well. So we make sure we are speaking to accountants, getting their insights as well. So informally, just walk out, speak to certain users. That's the best way. There is no, believe me, no substitution for that. From a formal way, you can reach out to professional agencies. You can start out an alpha and beta pool for yourself. That, of course, once you get a certain level of maturity. And number three is, please make sure to tap your proxy subject matter experts who can be a great source for feedback as you.
All right. So the next question is, do we need to add a debit card to test QuickBook transaction APIs?
I can take that, but also Rajesh can chime in if he's around. But the APIs are all open, so there are no charges to using the APIs or accessing them. We probably, what we could do is after the session. If Askar is on the call, Askar, we could plan to send this out to all the startups who have registered via email or Slack. So you all have the links. You should already find the link in your dashboard in Incubate In, but we'll also make sure you get it through the other channels as well. Askar, do you want to chime in? Yeah, I see you on the call.
Yeah, sure. You can find all the links in the dashboard, and also we have shared the links over an email with you. We'll share it
Okay.
again.
I think we're good, Anamika. We probably could move to the next question.
Yeah. So the next question here is, support do I in the hackathon? I don't know how to use Intuit platform.
I think there's a
Askar,
lot of background.
yeah, Askar, you might need to go on mute. Thank you. Yeah, sorry, Anamika, please go ahead.
Right. So what kind of support do I get during the hackathon? I don't know how to use Intuit platform.
Okay, that's a great question. We have a bunch of mentors lined up to help you guys on various aspects, right from problem statements to business questions on go-to-market strategies, on the APIs itself. What you need to do is tap into a Slack channel and be very active there. We'll definitely pick your question, and you will also be assigned mentors as during the hackathon itself. So you could also talk to them directly. All the information again is available on your Incubate In dashboard. Even the Slack channel has like a link there which you can go and look at.
Right.
In addition, Rajesh also shared a bunch of resources, which included the API documentation, the forums, as well as the keybs that the participants can check out.
Right. So that is already available at the Slack channel, right?
That's right.
All of them are already there. Yeah. So you know where to go now. Okay, there's another question. It says, is it necessary to form a team of minimum 2 members? I want to participate in the Codeathon, but I do not have a teammate. Can I participate alone?
Okay, we actually thought this through for a little bit before we actually said it has to be 2 to 5 team members. The reason being, again, the Codeathon is intended towards tapping into the potential of upcoming entrepreneurs, SaaS startups specifically. What we've typically seen is that companies become successful when they have more than one founding member. And we wanted to make sure the team is solid enough to actually take things forward. Now, having said that, probably the incubating team can chime in here. You could also look for people within the registrants if you can tag team. I hope that is available, Askar. I did explore on the incubating platform, but probably Askar can keep me honest here. And probably you can come on board here for the AMA session. There seems to be like a bunch of questions where you are required to chime in as well.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah, that's available.
yeah, Askar, do you want to say something?
No, that's it. So we can move on to the next question.
Okay. Then please mute yourself. Thank you. So how does application process work? How can we know that we are selected?
Yeah, and I can start with that. I think the applications for the Codeathon itself closes on November 10th, and post that we're giving time for the teams to actually build the applications and submit the final questionnaire that we've asked on the portal itself. So what happens after that is there is a team of mentors, both internal and external, who come together to evaluate the startups who have submitted their solutions to us, and it comes down to top 30 first, and you will be notified via email for sure, and I'm sure there are other channels through which you'll be reached out to as well. Then it comes down to 10 who are invited for the finale happening on December 8th. And you will have an opportunity to pitch a solution in front of Intuit leaders and also external ecosystem influencers. So that's how the process works, and you will be know how you will know that you're selected.
Right. So the next question would be, do we need to show fully working prototype?
Yes, it's an added advantage if you have a fully working prototype. Yes.
Okay. Does one have to be online and available for the entire duration of the hackathon?
Uh, yeah, so because this is a virtual one, I know where this question comes from. Typically, hackathons are like, we all come into like a particular place over 1 or 2 days, we code, it gets done, and then winners are announced. We're taking a slightly different approach here, where you get like a little bit of a longer time to actually collaborate virtually and submit the solution. So it doesn't have to be necessary that while you're building the solution, you have to be online and available for that entire duration. But when you're actually called in, and if your team is selected for the finale, it'll be great if you can be there during that entire time period.
The perils or the merits of being in the virtual world, right?
Yeah, I know. It's totally true.
Yeah. Okay, so do I need to give a demo for the product that I have built?
Yes, so there is a 5 minutes video that we've asked as part of the application process. So that will ideally be a demo with, of course, the tips that we shared earlier, like Aditya mentioned, can include customer testimonials. It could include like talking about a little bit of the problem statements that you have built. But the finale will definitely be about showcasing your product and providing a demo.
And also, the reason for
Right.
doing that is nobody can represent your product better than you. Actually, the only ones who can are your customers. So if you get those in, that's even better. But the fact is, to give justification to the effort that you put in, we highly recommend that you actually do that demo.
Right. So how do I submit what I have made for the hackathon?
This is a dashboard that is available for you to actually go and make the submission. If you open it, you will see a link there with a bunch of questions. That's how you go and submit what you've built for the hackathon, which includes a GitHub repo, a little bit of a small demo video, which you could upload on YouTube and give us like only the private link as well, if that's easier.
Right.
I hope that answers the question.
Anyone who has a follow-up question for the answers that we'll be giving, please post them in the chat.
Yes.
So when do we start the development?
Anytime. That's what Sanamika said. We are in a virtual world, so there isn't any particular point of time where you have to build the product. You could get started. You already have the problem statements. Begin talking to your customers. Begin coding. And there are only like last dates where you have to make sure that your applications are coming in.
Rajesh has sent a message. He says you can start coding tonight. Right. So as of now, we will wait for more questions.
Sure. In the meanwhile, Anamika, let me take one question which was posted earlier about, out of the six solution tracks that we had talked about.
Yes,
Let me actually just
I'll get
scroll
to the
back a
question.
bit. Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, we saw six problem statements, and our solutions could target two. How do we present this? So remember, folks,
yeah.
the list of problem statements, A is just representative, and it's, you can pick any one of those. The good thing about going after these problem statements is this is actually the problem statements that we have uncovered after our years of our working and research with small businesses on these are the top things that small businesses actually care about, and this is something that we have validated through building our products across geographies across the world. So it's a great list to start with, but at the same time you are not expected to address all of them together. No way. In fact, I would recommend to pick one. In fact, go narrow in even that one problem area and solve it well. So for example, if you say getting access to capital, that essentially means that how do small businesses can fund themselves. Now there can be a narrow problem that you can pick even in this space. For example, today right now many businesses struggle with the time it takes to get a loan approved because banks need a lot of documents. If you have to go after how do we actually quicken this process, because you're actually using QuickBooks, you have all the financial data at tap. If you can actually extract this data without having the need to present all of those lengthy documents, that itself will be an awesome problem statement to go after. So you don't have to pick all, you don't have to pick one, you can even pick one narrow within that. Secondarily, if you have an idea which is relevant to small businesses customers and which is not on the list, that's absolutely fine as well. Please surprise us, because we would love to know that if there are things out there that the customers care about and it's not on that list. So short answer, does it need to target all of them? No. Can it target two? Absolutely. Ideal would be one, and one really, really well done.
All right. First of all, okay, the question that has come up now is, can you share the judging parameters? Like, will it be judged on the impact of the product, or the tech stack, or code architecture? What is the criteria for assessment of the idea?
Yeah, I could probably start there, and Ted, please feel free to chime in here. So the way we look at it is, think about it from a customer angle, right? It's not just about going after the great problem and the great solution that you have, but also can the product deliver the promise. If we were to stack rank it, probably would take equal weightage as a mentor or a personal jury who's evaluating. Of course, it is subjective, a little bit subjective about which varies with mentors to mentors, but there is no specific weightage for one over another when the evaluation is done.
True. And really the way to think about that, which is quite commonsensical, this would be, exactly the way you would do in terms of investing, presenting in an incubator, presenting it to a VC, or if you someday make it to Shark Tank, you would be doing the same thing. You have to show how does it solve the customer problem. Now, what you would realize is that depends on those three things. What is the problem that you chose? Do you solve that? How well you design the product? How is it usable? Can customers actually reach it? How are you going to market it? And number three is the tech stack. In case the product doesn't work, it won't. So it all boils down to that one question. And like Archana said, if any of these things falter, then it wouldn't work out. So all of them technically get equal weightage.
All right. So we we wait for more questions? As of now, this is the question that we have.
Um, we be available like offline as well on Slack. So please feel free to drop a note there.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm sure most of you are also connected with Asker, so he could also collate the questions and reach out to us. There are no more questions, Namika. It's okay. We could wrap up as well. And great collaboration there between Heth
Perfect.
and Yavar on forming a team.
Yes. Right.
There's a problem
So,
statement right there, actually.
right. Yeah. So thank you very much, all of you, for this exciting session. Thank you, all the mentors, for taking our time today. And as Rajesh has suggested, that we can start working on our code right away. So please start working on your ideas. Submit your ideas on the dashboard as soon as possible. In case you have any queries, please join the Slack channel. The mentors are there to address your queries. The link would be already, I think it has been provided in the chat too. Could you share that again? Yeah, so the link is there. Join the Slack channel and you would get answers to the queries as soon as you post them. Hopefully, like even if we are virtual, yeah, we would, we are always there nowadays, right? So thank you, Aditya. Thank you, Archana.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so much.
Rajesh. See you around then.
Thank you.
Thank,
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
so
much.
much.
thank,
Right. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much for joining in,
Bye.
folks. We are looking forward to
Thank,
what you come up with. Take care.
Absolutely.
thank you. Bye bye.
Take care.
Bye
Bye.
bye.